Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another focus session. My name is Steve Clark. I'm the Director of Customer Success. And today's focus session is going to be focused on how to create a hosted website, or or if you even have one already, how to customize it. And I'm going to cover three, just here, easy customizations in the title, but we'll go over three customizations. So I think once people can see how easy it is to customize it, there's all sorts of things you can do. So yeah, and just FYI, Zach is in our audience. Zach is with our marketing team. If you do have any questions throughout, there is a Q&A. Feel free to add those questions to the Q&A. I will try to answer anything he can't at the end, but Zach might pop in some links and stuff. So don't feel you have to fast and furious take notes. He's going to be putting any links I mention in there. And this session is recorded and will be put up on our webinars page for all to see. So yeah, with that, let me go ahead and get in it. I'm going to share my screen here and turn off my video. You don't want to watch me the whole time. Okay, cool. So Zach, we're seeing the focus session screen here, right? Okay, cool. All right, awesome. Well, let's go ahead and get into it here. So today, I like to do these as, this is an education session, so I'll explain some things, we'll talk about some things, and then I kind of move into a demo, and we kind of go back and forth. But like I said, if you have any questions, I say something, please pop that into the Q&A, and I'll keep an eye on that. And if it's something I can answer as I'm going, I will. Otherwise, I'll answer it at the end. So we're going to do 4 steps here, I guess, for lack of a better word. So step 1, I'm going to show you the settings you would actually do to create your hosted website. And then I'm going to go through those 3 examples that we promised. So 1, I'm going to show you how you could add a Meet the Team page. This isn't a normal page that is in our templated site. So it is a custom page, but you could create to help people feel more at one with you. So I think that's important. I'm also going to show you how maybe you can make an FAQ page. Obviously, you probably have guests that ask the same questions over and over again. And now, if you're using Resi, it's great. Resi can answer them automatically, but maybe you're not using Resi. Either way, an FAQ page can be helpful in setting expectations for your guests up front. So I'll show you how to make one of those. And then another one a lot of people like to do when they make a property page, especially if you're a larger owner, is kind of make a collection of properties. So let's say your portfolio is 30 properties, but only 5 of them have hot tubs. There is a way to make a filter on the search to look for hot tubs, but a lot of people like to have just a link. Click here to see all our hot tub properties. And I'll show you kind of a way to do that. So, but once again, these are just some examples of what you can do with your page. There's so much you can do. But with that, let's get into it. So, briefly, why even make a hosted website, right? There is power in direct bookings. It lets you take complete control of your brand, communication, trust, and the guest booking experience. As I've said in more than one of these, Airbnb, VRBO, Booking.com, they're all great channels and partners. And let's face it, we as short-term rental owners need those because they can do marketing that you could never do, right? Like they can buy Super Bowl commercials and whatnot, But over time, as you do this more and more, you want to get repeat business, And there's some people I've seen that are amazing. They're in a market where it's just, they're booked a year in advance because everybody books their home. The same guest books their home every summer, right? They're the same guest, likes to come spend 4th of July there or whatever. And you don't want to send those guests to Airbnb and VRBO because then they're paying an extra 15% that maybe they don't have to pay. So, but anyways, having your own direct booking site helps you build your brand, helps you define your business identity. It's a shame that everybody says, hey, I'm going to go Airbnb something, right? They've done a great job building their brand, right? Wouldn't it be better if they said, hey, I'm going to go book with Woodhaven Rentals, which is my company. I only have one property, but wouldn't it be great if I got to the point where I had that type of brand? Well, that starts with a direct website. It helps you build direct connections, genuine relationships directly from your guests free from their filters, right? With Airbnb and VRBO, you have to message through their messaging channels and they can filter out what they don't want you to say or whatever. I mean, this is a direct connection. So once again, the power of a direct booking. Um, Helps you build trust. You can show all your reviews on there. You have your policies clearly shown on the website. So it's important, especially as a smaller operator, right? There are people still, they only book through Airbnb or VRBO because of trust, right? Once again, they've done a good job of building this. People feel, well, if I book through Airbnb, I'm better protected than if I book direct. But, obviously, as an OwnerRez user, you can have damage protection policies, travel insurance, all the same tools that Airbnb and VRBO use to build that trust, you have at your fingertips. And you should be talking about that on your direct website. And by using OwnerRez, we have the widgets and whatnot, and the new My Stay page and all of that to provide a frictionless checkout experience so that you have the total ownership over the complete booking path. So bottom sums it up why it matters. Direct booking channels help maximize your profit margins, drive repeat guest loyalty, and put you in absolute control of your business. So I don't want to downplay the channels. You got to start with the channels, right? But this is the gold standard you want to get to. There's more and more direct bookings. So before you begin, right? Before you even start your host website, I can't tell you how many people come to us because, I want to build a direct website. So they come and day one, they're like, I want that direct website. Well, before you do that, you have to get your properties in order, right? You have to build everything in OwnerRez. So if you're already on Airbnb, when you first make that connection, we're going to suck all that in and help create the listings from your Airbnb listing. If you're not on the channels already, you're brand new, then you can build all of this in OwnerRez. But this is kind of your checklist of what you want to check. Make sure the map is right. Make sure your location is correct. Make sure the description is correct. Amenities, photos, and I just did a separate focus session that was all about this. So maybe Zach, if you can link to that focus session we did on location, amenities, and whatnot. So I don't want to go into all of that too much here, but I will show you in the account. Let me just pull that up. So if I was in a property, what I'm talking about is I would come into here and I would go through all these things over here. Make sure the accommodations, make sure everything's checked that I want to be checked. Go to amenities, make sure all those are checked, because this is what's going to drive things on your website. If this foundation isn't set, then you're not going to have as strong of a website. Use AI to your benefit. I'm sure most everybody knows how to use AI nowadays, but maybe your description is 2 sentences. Put that and your photos and everything in AI and say, make me a new listing descriptions, and make these as good as they can be. But anyways, like I said, I have a whole webinar that's focused on that. So check that out if you need more info on how to do this part. But anyways, once those are in set, it says here, OwnerRez uses your existing centralized property data to automatically generate the foundation of your hosted website. So that data, not only is it feeding Airbnb and VRBO and whatever else, it's also feeding your direct website. So this is why this has to be, good. Okay. So right now I'm going to step you through how to create a hosted website. So the first thing you'll have to do is basically turn it on. If you've never used hosted websites before, it's going to ask you to turn it on and warn you that this is a premium feature that costs you a little bit more money, right? So, but just realize too, we bill for the premium features on the date of your billing date. So if your billing date's the first of the month and you want to turn it on today, you're not going to be billed for it for the first of the month. So you have a couple of days to check it out and see, does this look the way I like? Is this something I want to use, right? But after you turn it on, then we're going to choose a layout. I'll show you that. We're going to choose, am I just doing a single property or am I doing a multi-property? The multi-property, I think, is a little more robust. Sometimes I tell people, even if you have a single property, if you ever think you're going to grow or plan on growing, I would do it as a multiple property because it gives you a little bit of extra searchability and stuff. But then you're just going to we'll look through some of the settings and whatnot that you can change. So anyways, let's go ahead and do that real quick. So like I said, so first thing you're going to do is go to settings, and you will go to hosted websites right here. And as you see, I have not enabled it in this account, right? So first thing I have to do is turn it on. It says, now it doesn't tell you the amount here, I think, when you turn it on, but you go to the billing page and look at all that. Oh, no, never mind. It pops up and it tells you right away, right? So I have 7 properties in this account. So turning on hosted websites is going to cost me $35 a month, right? So which is still a pretty good value. If you were going to build a website on GoDaddy or somewhere else, they generally charge $20 a month for hosting, and then you're not even going to have all the tiebacks and it be as integrated as ours is. So I realize too, for the hosted website, I do want to point out there too, if you go build your own, there's some people, well, I can build it own cheaper. I can get hosting for $10 or whatever. Why am I going to pay this? We are doing all the security, so we're constantly making updates to make sure that you're not hacked or whatever. We also make sure you're fully PCI compliant. So if you start trying to collect credit card somewhere else, not using our flow, realize that you should, become certified to do that, basically. So there are a lot of things under the covers that you don't even realize. Our hosted website is fully SEO compliant. I'll show you a little bit of that stuff so that it helps you with searchability. So there's just a lot of things under the covers in our website that make it very worthwhile. Now, that being said, if you want to go make your own WordPress site, if you want to go make something else, yeah, feel free. We do have widgets and stuff that will help tie that back into OwnerRez. But this session is all about the hosted website. So anyways, first thing I'm going to do is turn it on, and you're come right into let's create a new website. So I'm going to just walk you through this. So first we give our website a name. I'll call it Joe's Rentals for today. I don't know. It's fine. And then site title, Joe's Awesome Vacation Rentals, whatever you want it to be. Here's where you're going to pick, am I going to do it for multiple properties or am I going to do it for a single? I'm going to do it for multiple for this demo. And then if maybe you have a lot of properties in your portfolio and you want to make 2 separate websites, you can do that. When you pay for a hosted website, you can make as many hosted websites as you want for that same charge. So I could say, okay, well, out of all these 7 properties, this owner, Cardigan, he wants his own. So I'm going to put these 3 on their own, right? I could do that. But, once again, for this demo, I'm just going to put them all on there. Let me double check. I think they all have photos. Once again, the demo account. So I always just check. Yeah. Okay. So, all right. So I'm going to do all properties. And then it's going to give it a test location. If you want to change what the test location is, you can. I'm just going to change it. Let's say Joe's Rentals. And then it's going to be Joe's Rentals .hostedstage.OwnerRez in this case. So this is really just a test site. It's so that you can look at it and see how it looks and feels while you're setting things up. You don't want this to be your main site because it doesn't help you build that brand we talked about and everything else. So what you're going to want to do is get a domain name. If you've used, you've bought domains in the past for other things, other projects, or if you already own your vacation rental domain, you can just put it in here. So maybe I already own joesrentals.com. I can put that in here. And then it says, if you already have that domain, follow this article, and we'll pull that up real quick. But it will tell you what I have to do to make that live. And basically, I have to go into the DNS of wherever that domain is hosted. Let's say it's GoDaddy. I'd have to go in there and I'd have to make sure there's 3 A records that point to these IP addresses. I want to make sure that there's a CNAME for www pointing to this address. Now, if this all sounds Greek to you and you're like, man, I don't know anything about this, you can probably screenshot this and send it to GoDaddy or send it to your name registrar and say, hey, I need my DNS to have these settings. And generally, they're pretty good at setting that up for you. But really, it's not that hard. When you go in, each domain registrar has a help article, how to set your name records, and you'll find it's pretty easy. And we actually have a couple of, we have setting for a Squarespace domain, Namecheap, GoDaddy. We have all of those. So, but there's hundreds of domain registrars, so we can't make help articles for each and every one, So, but anyways, but let's say you don't have a domain name. We recommend now the one we used to recommend Namecheap, and they're still a great recommendation. But what we like about name.com and why we recommend them now is they will make it, if you buy a domain through them, it's already going to have these domain records in it, right? So it's already going to be pointing right to where it needs to point. So yeah, if I wanted to find Joe's Rentals here, I can search for that, and joesrentals.com is taken, but I could get joesrentals.rentals or joesrentals.properties. I mean, I do recommend, if you've never worked with domains before, pay the extra or try to find a .com that's not taken, because let's face it, when people think domains, they think .com, right? You could do .info, and you even see .info is cheaper, but once again, when you tell people, hey, go to my website, Joe's Rentals, they're not gonna, even if you said go to joesrentals.info, people hear website and they put .com at the end, right? So anyways, but up to you. So and these are annual rates, I believe, so pretty inexpensive to buy a domain name. So anyways, once you have the domain, you have that situated, we'll just go back through our settings, and most of these you can probably leave at the default, but feel free to look through them, set them one way, set up your site, and then change it, see how it looks. Like here we have some options how I want my rates to display. I personally don't like our rates table, so I'm just going to say put the rates right on the calendar. That's what I like. So that's what it defaults to, I think. Map location, in the property settings, you set whether it's an approximate or exact. I mean, if you always want your website to be exact, go ahead and set that here. If you have a logo, you can create what they call a favicon, which is a really small icon. And then that way, when your website loads up in the menu bar, there'll be a favicon. I don't think that many sites use that anymore, but it's just a nice little touch. Logo, once again, if you have a logo, definitely use it. If you don't have one, maybe you're brand new once again, and you're not a graphic designer yourself, I recommend going to Fiverr. Great service. You probably get a logo made for less than $20. You tell them a little bit about your site or your property or where it is, and they'll make you a professional logo that looks really good. And that's just, I always spell it wrong. If for those that don't know it, does it have an ER? I think it's got an ER. Yeah, Fiverr. These are just basically independent developers. But I've used them for different things. I know I've recommended this to other clients, and they've been super happy with, the output that some of these people make. So anyways, just a small suggestion. So I put in the logo here, maybe you're not booking properties. We have people at OwnerRez that I have one client in Hawaii that rents out trucks with little tents on the back, right? So maybe he doesn't want his called properties. He wants them called, truck or trucks. I don't know, So just FYI, you can set what the term is that you're calling property. Some people like listing rather than property. Up to you. We'll change it to listing here. Let's just try that. Content editor, if you're more advanced, you can just by default look at the code. I think the visual editor is the easiest, so we'll leave it at that. So that's it. Like I said, most of these settings you don't even have to change. And then the next page, you're going to pick your template. Right now, we only have 3 templates to choose from. If you click on this eyeball, it's going to show you an example of what it looks like. This one has this drop down for your logo centered. This one, so if you didn't have a logo, it's more text, but you can still use a logo on this one. But this one's very just modern, very white. This one has some more colors, right? So yeah, Trent, we definitely need to update more templates. There's a lot they want to do to the hosted website. So eventually, but really just a template is a starting point, So I'm going to show you too where, you can start here and then you can change it any way you want. Um, so, but yeah, eventually we definitely need more templates. So we do realize that. So anyway, so for this demo, let's use this mountain lodging one. I think it gives us the most to edit and whatnot. So that's it. I just created a hosted website, even with, talking you through all the options and stuff. I mean, what was that? Was that less than 5 minutes? I don't know. It's pretty quick. So you'll see, now the live location isn't going to work because I don't really own this domain, but if you did, this should take you to live. This we would use right now for the testing, right? So here on this template, it put the logo that I have it listed in the account, in the theming section of the account. And just for those of you that don't know, theming is a separate area here. So, right, you can put in your company name, your theme, your email address, all of that stuff here in theming, and that will push over to your hosted website. So, anyways, I've got my seven properties here. Um, and this is basically the template. These pages were created automatically. I can go to just the properties list here. I can go to a map, which shows based on your address where all your properties are. So this is kind of a unique portfolio. It's all over. Availability is a ribbon calendar, that would show, once again, my demo, I don't have any bookings in here, but it would show that. And the reviews would show any reviews, that were in the account. And if they wanted to book now, this button is for the whole portfolio. They can easily book. Maybe if they just know right away they're a repeat guest and they know, man, I love Bear Meadows, they could come here and do that without even going to the properties. But most people that experience on the site, they're going to come and they're going to put in their dates. They know they want to come this week in October, and they only want a place that sleeps 8 or more guests. When I search, well, out of the 7 properties, there was only 5 that met that search criteria. So, so a couple of things I'll show you, and these are just brief edits, right? But as you saw, the portfolio was diverse, right? There's one in Virginia Beach, there's some up here, there's one in Georgia. How can I, do that better? Well, so one of the first things is on that, when I'm in the hosted website, on the homepage was my search bar. So if I go to the homepage, you'll see here availability property search widget, right? I can change the settings on that. And 2 things I'm going to do. I don't like the list. Well, that's somewhere else. Never mind. I'll back up. But here, I want to add a location filter. I want them to be able to look at the ones in Virginia Beach different than the ones in Georgia or whatever. I could also add bathrooms. I could also add amenity filters. Let's go ahead and do that. I want people to easily be able to find, maybe in my market, hot tub is the #1 amenity. So I want people to easily be able to filter whether it's got a hot tub or not. So just by setting those couple of things, now when I go back to the homepage, now we see we have these extra filters, right? So any location, do I want it in Luray, Virginia, Georgia, Virginia Beach? Well, maybe I just want the Virginia Beach one. Let's look. How many are in Virginia Beach? Oh, hold on. Now you're saying, well, Steve, these aren't Virginia Beach. Why did they show up? The main page, and this is just a little quirk, but once you know it, the main page property filter, when you actually look at it, it tells you, I think it says here, it's opening it on a different page, right? Maybe it doesn't tell you. I thought it did. But what it's doing is it's opening it on that other properties page. So I need to go and adjust this one to have the same settings. So I'm going to go to this property search filter as well and add that location and add that hot tub amenity just so they match. And hopefully when they revamp the hosted page, we'll make that easier. But for now, that's just something I want you to be aware of. So anyways, we can go back now to our homepage. Let me try it again. I just want the ones in Virginia Beach. I'm going to click search, and there we go. We only have one listing in Virginia Beach. In Georgia, I should only have one listing. But in Luray, I've got like 3 listings, right? So this is an easy way. Adding these filters is an easy way, if you do have a larger portfolio that's across different places, that they can do that. Same thing, they only want to see the properties that have a hot tub. Well, out of the 7, only 4 have hot tubs. So, they can narrow down their search that way. And then further, if I put in the dates of availability and, guest count, maybe I want a hot tub, but I only want it if it sleeps at least 8 guests, that's still 4. I don't know how big these properties are. Okay, I went to 10 guests, and now there's only 3 instead of all 4, right? So I know Woodhaven, that's my property, that sleeps 10. So if I go up to 12, more will fall off. Yeah, there's only 2 now. So anyways, these filters are a powerful thing that, not everybody probably sets. So that's a great thing to know about. Another small customization, on the home page here. See how there's this list, and the list view does, when you have the description in, it gives you a little bit more details maybe on this page. But truthfully, I don't like people to scroll so much because nowadays people have short attention spans. Nobody's going to scroll. So what I want to do is come to homepage, and on the body, I'm going to say, show me tiles instead of list view. And when I do that, oops, we're not on the homepage. I'm going to go to the homepage. Now they're the 7 tiles, right? So just a little bit, the pictures are what are grabbing people. They're going to sort by what they want, and then they're going to look at the picture and select it. When they select it, they go to the property page that has all the information. A lot of times I'll tell people, keep the homepage tiles, but then when they actually do search, because now they're getting more into the nitty gritty, that's going to be the list, because the list does have the images, and hopefully we have a smaller subset now, right? So you can leave the properties widget set to list view. Because once again, this isn't another page. We got our home page and our properties page. So anyways, just some examples. This is how easy it is to edit things on your website that you want. You just go to the page that you want to change and, mess with the settings. Basically, you're not going to break anything by changing something. If for some reason on the homepage I didn't want that index at all, right? I could say none. When I do that, I go to the homepage. It's not going to show any of the properties at the bottom, and I can put some text here instead or something like that. But now I'm going to rely on people going to the properties page to find it rather than on my homepage. Some people like the homepage to be more laid out with, other information. And basically, if that was the case, let's say I'm not going to show the properties there, I would go back to my homepage here. And in the introduction section, I could add some information, Here is some info about my properties or whatever, or welcome to what do they call it, Joe's Rentals. You could put all sorts of information here. Now, this is a what you see is what you get editor. So I could say bold. I could make this welcome to Joe's Rentals 36 point. I could make it red. I could do all that. Now, if you are more advanced, or maybe you're using AI and you generate a nice landing page you want, and it gives you some HTML, you can put the HTML right here. However you generated that HTML, or maybe you're an old school coder and you want to do it yourself, you can enter in whatever HTML you want here, and it's going to update this, right? So, let me go back. Now, if I refresh this page, say, welcome to Joe's Rentals, here's some info about my property. So once again, this is how easy it is to update sections of your homepage, right? So, in conclusion, basically it's kind of sandwiched, right? There's the intro, And then normally there's the property search widget, which I've turned off, and then there's the conclusion follows. But so that's how you build it. A lot of people at the conclusion, they'll put stuff like your badges, your I think Zach put up this before, but here's my personal website. In the conclusion section, I have that I'm a premier host and Airbnb. This is stuff that's in the footer, but here's just an example. I'm a single property, so I don't have the search widget on my main page. Instead, I have a bunch of different things for people to look at before they go into the rest of the site. So anyways, that's just kind of your basic edits. So let's go on to some kind of more advanced stuff. I do say here, the cool thing is as you're setting it up, we give you that test location so you can, test it all you want and look at it. It's kind of like a sandbox staging site. And then when you're ready, you can make it live. I mean, truthfully, if you make it live right away, unless that domain already existed and you have traffic coming to that domain, it's not like people are going to find it right away, probably. So it's up to you when you want to add the live location. But yeah, and then there is a broken link protection built in that just, you can, if you were transitioning from another website, you can set up redirects and stuff so that if your old website went to this page and somebody comes to that page, they're going to go to the right page in the new setup. And that's a little bit more advanced, but you'll see that here as redirects, right? So I can create a redirect just as an example. If Joe's Rentals was like I said, it's an old page that I've had forever, and people used to go to properties to see my properties. Now I want them to come to this properties page, or maybe you had a slash, for, beach rental or something. I don't know. Maybe that's what it was called on the old page. But on this one, you want that to go right to Palm Breeze Bungalow. You can do that, so that's how redirects work. Pretty interesting. So anyways, like I said, play with a lot of these things. I don't think you're going to break anything. You can always change it back. But yeah, so. Oh, this is just something to mention too. When you do have the your domain in and you've set those DNS things, we do have a DNS checker here, which is kind of nice. So in this case, right, I don't own Joe's Rentals. So it says Joe Rentals is pointing to this IP address. That's where that website lives. We want to see these IP addresses. Remember, I told you there's 3 of them. So, we want these 3, but instead we're seeing this one. So that's just a good way to check, did I set it up right? And just realize when you do set your DNS, sometimes it can take a couple hours for DNS to propagate across the internet. So, if you check it right away and you're like, man, it's not working, give it a little bit and then come back and check again. Something else I'll mention just on basic edits out of the box, I just created this website. You'll see it didn't give it a page title. It didn't give it a lead. It didn't give it a meta description. I would recommend filling all of these out for each page because these are what help Google and SEO in general find your website. So once again, for page title, maybe, I'm going to put short-term vacation rentals in Northern Virginia or whatever. I don't know if that's your market or whatever it is. Oops. But, give it a page title. Lead. Now, lead, you don't have to put. This will show on the page if you put it. So you might not want to lead. That's up to you. But the meta description, again, meta descriptions should almost be a call to action. Why should somebody click on your page? Why should they come here, right? And I'm a big AI guy, so I like to use AI to my benefit when I'm making stuff like this. So, I'll even take it, maybe I'll take a screenshot of my page or something, right? I could do this. I'll show you what I'm going to do. I use ChatGPT. That's my choice. But if you like Claude or whatever, right? I like putting screenshots in and say, create a meta description for my homepage of my vacation rental site that is at joesrentals.com. Yeah, and the more you tell it, right, uh, diverse portfolio um, in Virginia, Georgia, and Virginia Beach. I don't know. So, now I'm telling it, and it should be less than 300 characters, just as an example. Because I'm not creative. I don't know. Sometimes I can't think of the right thing to say when I'm creating these things. So AI makes my life so much easier. It's going to go through and it's going to make a meta description that should help draw people to my website. So once again, a lot of people they thought a meta description should just be keywords, but really Google says it should almost be a call to action. So here there's an action. Explores Joe's Rentals for memorable vacation homes in the Virginia mountains, Georgia, and Virginia Beach. Find the perfect getaway and book your stay today. Well, that sounds awesome. That works for me, So I can come in here, put that in as my meta description, and now when Google searches my web page, it's going to see that and help rank me higher. And same thing, maybe on the map page, I want to create map page for, and once again, maybe I don't know what I want to say here. So I can go right back to ChatGPT, which already knows about my property now, and chat with it and say, I want to create a page title and meta description for a page with a map of my portfolio. You see, I can't type, so I misspell everything, but ChatGPT doesn't care. But anyways, so, in just seconds, right? Now I have vacation rental map, Joe's Rentals. Okay, that sounds good. I'll put that in the title. And my meta description, explore vacation rental map, So basically my point is I see people, they go through and they put the same meta description on every page. Google doesn't like that. It wants each page to be unique, to be something different. So before, our meta description says, hey, book today. This says view locations and start planning your stay. Explore our map instead of explore our properties. I mean, it's not super different from before, but it's different enough that Google is going to see it as an interesting new page. So just realize that's something that we don't do automatically. So you need to go through each and every one of these pages and create a title and a meta description. That's going to really help people find your site. So, all right, I think that's enough on the basics of setting up a site. Let me go through now and next thing is our first example. I said I'm going to show you how to make a meet my team page, right? So this helps put a human face behind the stay. It builds trust, fosters deeper connections, letting people that know that you're a real person, right? You're not just hopefully helps them realize you're not just some scammer, trying to steal their money or something, right? But anyway, so we can create a page like this or similar. And Zach just put up a link, which I do have up here somewhere. Let's see, create a meet the team page. So we've got an example here. This is our example page that we made. It just says, team member 1, owner property manager, team member 2, owner property manager. So this is something you can create yourself. This is on our hosted website. So if I wanted to create that, all I'm going to do is follow the directions on this page, right? So it says, go to the OwnerRez website and select custom. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to come here. I'm in my hosted website, create page. I'm going to create a custom page. And so once again, we can give it a title, meet the team. and maybe we still want to put that pipe and Joe's Rentals. Not bad for a title. And meta description, AI would be helpful here, but um, meet meet the team behind the scenes at Joe's Rentals. Once again, I would use AI, make that even better. What do I want it to say on the menu? I just wanted to say, meet the team. Every page should have a slug. It's going to do that from the menu text by default, and that's normally okay. If you want to change it, you can. But there you go. I have all my settings, and now I want to build the body. So let's go back to our directions. Whoops, apologize. That was here. It says, this over here. Set the title to meet the team. We did that. Menu display text, slug. Okay, we did all of that. In the content box, upload the photos of each member of your team. You can do this by clicking the upload button or dragging the images in there. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to come here to upload images. I'm going to select my files, and I've created 3 images of team members here, and I'm going to upload those. Okay. And then it says, if we go back to, it says, once you've done that, we're going to need these image locations. So go ahead and grab those, right? So I'm going to do that real quick. I'm going to grab this one. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to copy that. Okay. So I have those images now, or the location. So let's go back to our directions. It says once the URLs have been copied down, remove all text code from the HTML editor and paste the following code. So let's go ahead and do that. So I can copy this code right in there. I'm not going to get rid of that like it said at first, just in case I didn't copy it well. I mean, so you don't even have to copy it ahead of time. You could just do this. And basically, I want that first image. This is the first image. I want that here. Right? So I'm going to change that. And then I want the second image to be here. And if I did want a third image, I could, basically recreate this code and do it again. But for right now, let's just do the 2. So I'm matching the example. So that's it. I'm going to update it. And there you go. Now maybe this is a little too big. This is where now I can use my what you see is what you get editor, and I could kind of make the image smaller or whatever I want. Same thing here. And if you're more comfortable with the HTML, you could go back in and change the sizing in there if you want. But most of the time, the what you see, what you get kind of works. So okay, I've got those things. Now team member name number 1, maybe this is Bill Johnson or something, and he's the owner, and I could put in some more info in here about him. And this is the, guest relations person or whatever, I don't know. And, oh, I'm sorry, this is Jill Jones, let's say. And she's customer relations. So now I've done that site, and we now go back to our Joe's Awesome Rentals here again. You'll see now there's a menu item up here, meet the team. When I click on that, here's the page I created. So, pretty easy to do that. It's not, big rocket science here. If you do, I'll just show you a little bit more advanced. Once again, I really like ChatGPT, right? So, where was the one? Create team page HTML. Okay, I did this earlier because I just wanted to see. So basically, I took the screenshot of my I took the screenshot from my presentation and said, create HTML that would make a theme layout similar to this. Leave placeholders for the images, as I'll add those later. And basically it created it more as tiles or whatever. So I just want to show you, you can use our example, but you could do your own too. So I'm going to copy that in here. Let's just give it a try. I haven't tested this, so watch, it might blow up on me. But we'll go to meet my team, and let's just do these instead. Let's do here, and then basically I need to add the image here. So I got the one image there. I don't know if these are the right ones, but it's fine. And then I'm going to put the other image here. And put the last image here. I don't know if those are the right. Nope, that's the same one I already put. Let's see, I have them in 79 and B2. So I want this one that ends in 75. Okay. So I update it. And it didn't like where I put the photos. Well, let me just double check that. What I do. Oh, why it didn't? I didn't save it, I guess. Oh, that's always fun. So team section, team card. Where's the? You know what? I can do this too. Well, now I've messed it up. So let's start over. Okay, there's my now add team photo. I could just insert it right here. So and I could resize that to fit. Oops. So, but just to show you, like, I mean, what you can, some of the things you can do. I'll resize that to. So not perfect. I mean, like I said, I could play with this more and get it, right. But just for the demo, I just wanted to show you what's possible. So now I go to my Meet the Team page, and it didn't like that code. So bad example, I guess, but I could play with this more, and I'm sure I could get the code to work properly. But I just wanted to show you something that is possible. Like I said, using AI nowadays, you can make HTML that does more and more. But as we saw, we have that sample one that worked just great. So, feel free to use that. I don't know why we do use what's called Bootstrap 5. So I could probably, now put this in AI and say, hey, it didn't like these, it didn't like your code. Could you change it to work with Bootstrap 5? And it would probably, make it right. But I don't have time to go through that now during the demo. But anyways, just something to show you. All right. So, that's creating a Meet the Team page. I guess I should have done this first, but once again, you start by creating a custom page. You add your media assets because we need those links. We're hosting those on the OwnerRez page rather than from your local computer. So we need the links, and then you add the HTML, and you can put in those links. So. All right. The other thing we can do is create an FAQ page. So, this address guests inquiries proactively to streamline bookings, build trust, and help search engines crawl your site. Search engines like more information. So this is another page that's giving it more information. So this is very helpful. Also, as I said in the beginning, if you're using Resi, obviously Resi, you probably have FAQs in OwnerRez that can help answer some of these things. But if you're not using Resi, you can rely on your hosted website to help set some of these expectations and answer them better. So it says compile real question. A good way to figure out what questions are, look back in your inbox. What are questions people ask a lot? Or what are a lot of the things they mention in reviews that you want to touch on so they have a better expectation of what they have when they're coming to your property? So once again, to do this, we're going to create a custom page. We're going to call it FAQs. We're going to add the code that we have on our webpage. I'll show you that. And then we can open it in both desktop and mobile to make sure it looks good. That's something you should probably always do as well. Now this page is just making me mad. I'm going to go back and put the old code. So this is what it was before. So and this is going to have the Resi photos because I didn't, but at least it's got something. So anyway, so now to do the new page, we're same thing. We're going to do create page. We're going to do custom. In this case, I'm going to call it an FAQ page, meta description, a list of common questions people ask us at Joe's Rentals or whatever. Once again, you could make that better and better and better. We're going to call this FAQ, and the slug is FAQ, right? So now what do we put in our body? Let me find that article. Apologize, I opened too much stuff. Here it is, create an FAQ page, right? So it says same thing, custom page, set that to FAQ. And then we're going to copy the content in this box. So let me go ahead and do that. And I'm going to go to my HTML and put this code in there. And you'll see, we preloaded it with some questions here. How long does it take to list a property on each channel? How soon will I hear back from OwnerRez support? Yada, yada, yada. Now you want to change this, obviously, and make it yourself, So you would come in and find the questions. How soon will I hear back from OwnerRez support? Change that to, do you have a drip coffee maker? I don't know, whatever your questions are, right? And then here is the answer. Typically, you should receive a response back, blah, 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 blah. We can change all that to, yes, I have both a pot coffee maker and a single serve Keurig or whatever. Oops, if I could spell. So you'll see this is the one I changed. Do you have a coffee maker? When I save these, let's go back and look at the live site now. We now have our FAQ menu up here, and here's my questions. Yes, I have both a coffee maker, right? So you can, make this however you want. Now this one I feel better about because I did test, but the other thing you could do is put our code in here. I put in AI, I put in our FAQ page, and then I said, okay, I've got that. And then I put in from my presentation the questions I want. I want to add my own questions and answers to this image. So I didn't have to go through and find each one and type it out. Basically, AI did it for me, right? And then I could just take this code. And the nice thing is, not only did it do that, but it made headers for me. So I can copy this code. Let's come back to FAQ again. Tip, if you do Control A, that's select all. I can delete all that code. Control V, I'm going to paste in what I had from ChatGPT. And now you see I have 3 different sections. All the questions I had, these are the same questions that were in my presentation here, right? Policies, accommodations, local area. So I got policies, accommodations, local area. So this makes it super nice, you know. And once again, now let me refresh now that I've uploaded that. And here are my questions. Now, if you want to change the colors and whatever else, you know, you could ask ChatGPT to do that. Hey, I want the question to have a green background, and I want the answer to, you know, have a blue background or whatever, you know. So you could update the code to do that. But this is just a quick example, quick, easy way to make an FAQ page. Something else, kind of a quick tip I'll tell you too, is maybe you find out on the internet some widgets that do these things. So one site I like is Elf Site, and we've had clients use these before, but you know, they might have their own FAQ widget. Let's just see. I think they do, right? So you could use this, put everything in, and it would create the widget for you. Now they say it's free, but it's only free for so many views. After you have more views, they do charge. So once again, the way we're showing you is free, easy, works. If you want a prettier version, you could use, you know, widgets from a site like this. They have tons of different things on here. They have their own, you know, I showed you the meet the page, meet the team, meet the team, yeah. So they have a page like that too, you know, team showcase. So, you know, if you have a larger team, maybe you want to use a tool like this because it's got tabs and whatever else. So these are just things you could use to your benefit, and these would work with the OwnerRez website. One of the things I'm not showcasing today, but we have an article about how to create a weather widget. So that's an example of this. You could go to a page. We recommend weatherwidget.org, copy the code and put it into OwnerRez, and it would show that widget. A lot of people put this at maybe the footer of the page or whatever. I didn't go through setting that up as part of this demo, but that is another common thing you could do. All right. So to wrap it up, I think I had one more here, and that is this is, you know, if you're one or two properties, this might not be as important to you, but if you do have a larger portfolio, a lot of people like to, you know, hey, I have guests that come, they only want to stay at a place with a pool. Now, I showed you how you could do that with a filter, right? But the other thing people like to do is create a totally separate widget just for the pool, right? So we could do that. So I'm going to steal this image real quick. Let me just take that image. And I could, in my hosted website, if I wanted a page that just had that, first of all, maybe on my homepage, I'm just going to throw this on here so I have it. I'm going to say, click on the image to see all our listings with pools. Yeah, you know, this is very rudimentary, right? You'd have to do more design and make this better, right? But oops. But for right now, I just want to show you this as an example. So I'm going to put that as a placeholder for right now. And then under our widgets, right, our property search widget, I'm going to create a new property search widget. So well, and I'd have to know first, I guess, which I'm not that familiar with my demo properties here. So let me just real quick, I want to say, not pools, let's say hot tubs, because that's the amenity I have here, right? So I want to know which ones have hot tubs. So it's Eagles Landing, Palm Breeze, Sunridge, and Woodhaven. Okay. So now in my widgets, I'm going to make a property search widget. And I want that to be the tiles. Let's say I like how that is. I want the results to load in the same widget. That's fine. I'm going to show all 4 properties on first load. I want to do that. And let's see, available. Yeah. So we got all of that. We can't even put a listing site here too if I want every booking made through this widget, you know, to show that it was coming from that this if you now feed it to a booking widget, it knows it's coming from this listing site. Anyways, So in here, I only want the 4 properties that have a hot tub. So here under properties, I'm going to say only, and we said it was Sunridge, Palm Breeze, Woodhaven, and Eagles Landing. Those are my 4 that have hot tubs. So I'm going to make those here, and I don't need most of the rest. I can in the filter. Maybe I want them to be able to filter by bedrooms and still location or something. So now I've created a separate property widget, just like the other one, but now it's only got these 4, right? So here's the code that you would use to put that on a page. So I'm going to copy that. And once again, we do have a page that goes all over this. This is what I'm covering here is create a property collection widget. So it says we're going to go to settings and create the widget. That's what I did. I wanted tiles. I'm only going to select the ones that have the hot tub. So this is what I'm following along, basically, right? I just said we copied the embed code, and now I'm going to go create a custom page. So we're going to go back to our hosted website, settings, Joe's Rentals. I'm going to make one more custom page. And this one, I'm going to put hot tub properties or whatever. A collection of listings at Joe's Rentals that have hot tubs. All right, and menu text, we'll just say hot tubs. It's going to make my slug for me. And now under HTML, all I got to do is put in that code for the property search widget. Now, if I wanted something to show above that, I could put some text too. I could say, I just want to put that, it's easier. So I'm going to say, here are some listings that have hot tubs. Whatever you want. We're going to do bold. I'm going to make it bigger. I want to make the text red. Whatever. So now I have a page called hot tubs. Let's look at what happened here. We'll go back here. When I refresh it, I now have hot tubs. And here's some listings that have hot tubs, and it's got its own search. And if they just want Georgia, they search, and it's just going to show that one. And these all link back to the property page. But like I said, a lot of people, they like to put maybe some tiles on the front. Maybe they would hide these and instead say, click here for our homes with pools, and then they have another frame. Click here on our mountain cabins, whatever. They might start the search this way. So if I wanted to do that, I would go back to my home page. And once again, maybe I'm going to turn off the availability for this page for right now. I don't want the property index anymore on the front because I'm basically creating a new property index, right? Oh, I shouldn't have closed. I should have saved it. Anyways, now under intro, here was that picture. And, maybe what I really want to do is create a table here. And I could have 3 if I was going to have 3 different cards. And I could put the 3 images in here. If I had a couple more images, I could put those in here. What do I have? I don't have another great image right off to see some of my favorite clients I was working on logos for. I don't know. I'll just put this one in the second one just to have an image just as a placeholder. But anyways, now, if I had a page that maybe this goes to these different rentals, right? But I can come in here and I can link this to the page. Now I'd have to find out what that page title is. Let me do that real quick. It's hot tubs, right? So let me go back to our page. Here's my link. And I want this image linked to that hot tubs page. So now we come back to our home page. Now this one's not linked anywhere. It's not letting me click it. But this one, when I click it, goes right to my hot tubs page and shows me those things. So just another easy way you can help differentiate your website. Last thing I kind of go over, this wasn't in the presentation, but now that I've added these pages, you saw it just kept adding it to the end of the menu. Add, right? But maybe, I don't know, maybe I want to meet the team in FAQ. My menu bar is getting pretty big here, right? So I could come here to menu layout and I could say, you know what? The FAQ is going to be a subsection of meet the team. Or let me go back to menu layout. I can create a menu item. Now let's just display text. It doesn't really have to go anywhere, and say more info or whatever you want to call it. It's just going to be a menu item. And now here I can have more. I can put the FAQ under more info, put meet the team under, and I could basically make those subsets. And maybe hot tubs, I want to make subsets of the properties. I could do that. I could move that up here under properties and make that wrong. I grabbed the wrong one. I'm gonna move hot tubs under properties. So now that I've did that, let's see what happens. When I come back here, you see our menu bar shorter again. Under more info, I've nested these, right? So pretty cool. And then under properties, I have the list of my properties, but here's ones that are just hot tubs. And maybe you say, well, I want those hot tubs at the front, so okay, that's fine. We're going to go to menu layout. Let me put the hot tubs in front of properties. So again, let's reload this. And now properties, it's going to say hot tubs at first, and then a list of all the properties. So if they just want to come to the hot tub properties, there you go. So anyways, all right. Well, that, is the content I wanted to show you today. Hopefully that helps. So once again, I didn't go over the screen too well, but the reason why you might make these groupings are, like I showed you hot tub as an example. A lot of people do them for pet friendly stays. Maybe they have 20 listings and only 10 are pet friendly. So you could, highlight just that portion. Large cabins versus small cabins versus beachfront. There's a lot of things that people do to differentiate this. And just an example, I'll show you an example of that. Here is Shenrent, so they don't have the search on their main page anymore, right? But they start the search this way, you're coming, do you want a mountain view property? Do you want a riverfront? Do you want near the river or big groups? So, well, I want a riverfront property. I click there, and this just shows the 8 properties that are on their riverfront. But, if I do go to properties, they have 28 total properties, right? So this is a way, doing these images like this is a way people really like, kind of differentiating their portfolio. So awesome. All right. We did the demo already. All right. So, after you've made edits, I always tell people test, right? No matter what, you want to make sure that the guests have a flawless experience and can complete the booking path before you start advertising your site and really getting people coming to it. So, one of the benefits of using the hosted website is the navigation should be good. Everything should be linked. But when you start making custom pages and start making things, click through everything and make sure it works. Mobile, this is one of the other benefits of using a hosted website. It should look good, just as good on your desktop as it does on your phone. And you can, if you're using Chrome, go to more tools and go to developer tools, and you can view it like you're on a desktop. So like here, my logo, this book now button is kind of not in a great place compared to everything else. So that maybe that's something I would want to adjust on my mobile. So that's what I'm saying. Check it out and look at both. So and then I'll show you that real quick. If I wanted to move this book now button, I don't like that it's over top of there. What I can do is go here to my hosted website settings. Under header and layout, you have desktop settings, tablet, and phone. I'm going to go to phone, and here's site menu, and then the book now and call. Maybe, you know what, I don't really care if people, I don't want them even calling me direct. So I'm going to put that button here again. So we're going to do links and text. I'm going to add a link. I'm going to call it a button. I'm going to have it go to my book now page. And I'm going to, by default, it will say book now, which is fine. Let's just leave it at that. I could put a little icon if I wanted to. I don't know. But maybe there's some. See what they have for book. Maybe I want to put this icon of a book in front of it. I'll just do that for right now. So book now. And now this booking button I don't want anymore. So I'm going to delete that. Save section, save and close. Once again, let's look at it now. I'm going to refresh it first. I'm going to go back to look at it on my phone. And now, it's better, but the book now button is still kind of big, right? It still might be overlapping. So once again, I can come back here to and this is where you just kind of play with things, right? I'm going to come to change style. I want to change my font size just for the phone, be a little smaller. Let's do 90%. And the button padding's too much. Let's do 10 instead of 15. And I can save that. And now when I refresh it, now it's looking a little bit more in line, right? It looks a little bit better. Right now when I scroll up, I lose my logo and I lose the quick links back to my menu. Maybe I don't want that to happen. So that's something else. I can come in here, change style, and I can say stick to the top of the window. When I scroll, I want it always to stay there. So now I can reload and look at now. Now when I scroll the page, this always stays there. So I don't lose my brand and I don't lose my menu. So just some small customizations you can make. Play with it. Like I said, you can't really break a hosted site. Okay, so we've checked our navigation and make sure that all works. We fixed our mobile layout. You definitely want to check your rates and dates. Those are pulling directly from OwnerRez, but this is a good chance to check those. Do a test booking. Set 2 days to $1 or something. Well out into the future that nobody's looking at. Once again, the site's probably not live yet. People probably aren't really going to book those, and just do a booking. Even put it in your real credit card. Is it, if you do one night at $1 and just book it, Stripe's going to take their 3%, so plus 30 cents. So it probably costs you $1.50 to do this. And then afterwards, you can actually refund the $1. So you can see how that whole process works. But it's great to do a test booking to see what your guest sees, see how it all flows. So I highly recommend doing that. Double check all your, policies are correct, your descriptions, all of that good stuff. So like I said, test the entire path that the guest will take, not just the isolated elements that you edited. So, closing out, start simple and then build momentum. At first, you don't even have to make all these edits. I kind of went more advanced, so went into all these things. Just create and host a website. Probably take you 5 minutes to make it. Look at the test location. Having a booking site is better than no booking site, right? Then, take the week, spoof it up some, design it, change it, make sure you're meeting the needs of your specific guest and your market. Next, as I said, test the bookings, look at it on your phone, look at it on your computer, make sure everything's right. And then when you're ready, you can, make it live by putting your domain name in there and all of that. So, and yeah, this is something a lot of people build their site and then 2 years go by, they never check it. Always refine it. If you have a guest saying, hey, I had trouble finding this, or I didn't know about this, go add it to your FAQ. So constantly you should be always updating your website. So start simple, publish useful content, and learn as you grow. So here's, Zach's been doing a great job putting all the links as we've gone, but here's some of the links I use that were specific to today. If you do go to the hosted websites page to start with, on the left-hand sidebar, on any of our support docs, if I go there, this is the overview page I'm talking about. Start here, read through it, but on the left-hand side is all the information. So some of those things we talked about today are under this web assist, create FAQ page, add a weather widget. These are all here for you. If you have questions about, editing other pages, there's lots of information here. How to add video to your website, all of that stuff. So check all of this out. And here's the 3 examples that we went over today: how to set up a Meet the Team page, how to set up an FAQ, and how to set up a property collection page. So, all right. And I'm just looking through chat. You guys have been a quiet group, or you all fell asleep on me. But I do appreciate you coming today. And thank you, Zach, for putting all these links in here. So how do I make test changes without going to my live site? I mean, really, it does it. If you've made your site live, it's going to update live. There is no sandbox per se after you've made a change. I mean, but the great thing about a hosted website, I mean, it's not like, if you just change a little bit of language or change something, it's not going to stop people from booking. I mean, you can always just go back and change it right back. I always recommend, sometimes when I'm working on a website, I'll keep Notepad open. So if I am deleting code or something, I'll put that in a separate document so I can always go back to exactly what I had. So if you're trying to make something fancy and make a change and it didn't work, like I showed you with that FAQ page, right? I can just delete the code, add in my old code, and I'm right back to where I was. Yeah, I've been doing lots of copying and pasting for the backup file. Yeah, it's a good idea. It's a good idea. And that's a good feature request, Curtis. Maybe we need to, like I said, I do believe in the next year or so, we will be doing a lot of updates to our hosted website. Hopefully we even, no promises, but, we're leaning more and more into AI. I would love to see, an AI generated site more so, make it real easy. You just chat with it and say, hey, I want to add this feature, or I want to change this. That's the future, right? But yeah, maybe there would be a draft mode where you can make changes, but it not apply right away. Maybe that is something we need to look into doing. So no, that's great feedback. Cool. Well, I appreciate everybody joining us today. And if you need help with any of this, your first stops are here on the screen. I want you to check out the support docs that I already showed you go through today. Zach just put our feature request form, which is great. If you do have any ideas of how to improve our hosted websites, put those in the feature requests. This is, every client has access to those. And the more people we get telling us they want something, the developers will look at that and, institute it into the app. Outside of support docs, we now have Rezi, which is our AI, and Ask Rezi is free. You can ask it any question you want. And if you are in your website working on something, maybe I am here on the header page, or is it not? All you gotta do is come here to Ask Rezi, right? And it knows I'm on this page. I can say, how can I add a second line to my header? See what it says, but this Ask Rezi is free. It's built in. So it's looking at website header, customize, it's pulling, basically it just knows what's in our support docs. So in this case, it wasn't able to find documentation on adding a second line to the phone header, particularly because we're on phone header. But in this case, it says, well, you need more help on that. Do you want to create a support ticket? So you can create a ticket, and we can guide you through how to add that. So, and really, in the end, hopefully our support team is saying, well, shoot, they came to us through this. We need to create a support ticket on how to create that second line. We need to add that in. But Ask Resi is a great resource. It can really help you find a lot of the stuff. So, could you show me some general hosted site customization advice? So it's basically, and you can support our search articles without it, like I said, but it should go through and find it. In this case, it doesn't. So it just says the OwnerRez support docs are the best site. It says to search for hosted sites. So this is what it told me to do. I came here, and here's still Ask Resi. It's summarizing these sites, but I didn't even talk about using CSS. That's kind of a more advanced thing, but you can use CSS to adjust a bunch of things in your hosted site too. So this is a support article about that, just FYI. Oh, where'd my... So you got to Ask Resi support videos. Zach and the marketing team does a great job at making more and more videos, and that's why we make these focus session videos too. Hopefully this is educational. This is going to be on our webinars page, which is now searchable. You can filter it just to look at focus session videos like this. And I believe let's just check that out. If we come here, connect and webinars, I believe there's some other ones here on hosted websites. So maybe if I come here and I search websites, here's a focus session on how to set. Remember, we talked about setting the DNS settings. So if you have a question on that, you can come look at that. Here's one we did back at this same session pretty much, but did back in 11 of March of 2025. So it might have some details that I didn't cover in this one. So check that out. I don't think I did this one. Adrielle on our onboarding team did this. So definitely she has a different style presenting than I do. She might have some great information in here that I didn't cover. So check that out. Forums, like I said, great place to put those feature requests. Also, just a great place to ask general questions. If you are working on, doing your website, maybe our team doesn't have all the right answers, but there's another user out there that has made their website a certain way. Maybe they'll have the answer. Put in the forums. All of our users can see those forums. Blog is where marketing puts anything new. Check that out. Maybe one day we'll have a featured customer profile on you, and that'll be posted in the blog. And last but not least, if none of these other resources help, email us help@ownerrez.com. All right, thanks so much. I really appreciate everybody attending today, and go out and build a website. Have fun. All right, talk to you later.